there's a huge fear of failure. I'm never going to be good enough for this thing. What if this fails? It's going to be too terrifying. But actually, maybe we're even more afraid of what if it actually works out? What if I'm actually brilliant? What if I'm actually really powerful and I impact a lot of people's lives? This is much more terrifying because we keep ourselves in the smallness on purpose.
If you do not wake up in the morning and feel excited about life, inspired by just taking a breath, having that expansion and joy, even the glimpses of that in your life, then you have not tapped into the steps of your purpose. I call for honesty because there are too many who have given up that dream. We are supposed to dig deep into ourselves and find out who we authentically are and what our passions are. What are those gifts that lay within us?
Hello and welcome back to the Awaken Poho podcast with Claire Poho, where high-achieving, soulful women and sometimes men come to move beyond the illusion of success and into a life of radiance, freedom, and deep fulfillment. If you tune into the last episode, we talked about purpose from inside out. It was not about strategies or steps or, how to do it all, but it was a real, raw experience of sitting in the unknown, in that foggy, uncomfortable, disorienting place where you're meant for something more, but you just actually have no clue what it looks like or how to get there. So yeah, that was a messy middle. And I believe it was helpful. But this week, let's build on that. Because after we surrender to the truth that we are our purpose, no matter what we do or where we are our purpose. So then there comes a moment when the question naturally becomes, okay, but what do I do with that? Like, actually, in my 3D, rent-paying, responsibility-holding human reality, what do I do? And we kind of talked about it last time, but today I really want to bring through some tangible steps. What can we actually... So today's episode is for those who are ready to move. Maybe you don't have a perfectly mapped out path, you don't have an exact plan, but you're tired of feeling stuck, circling around and knowing, not knowing, second guessing everything, and you're truly craving just a way to start, even if it's messy. So today I'm joined by my dear friend and intuitive powerhouse, Kirsi Hardy, and together we unpack what it really looks like to move towards your purpose. With fear, with resistance, with messiness, imperfect action, and courage, all the way. We talk about some surprising things, such as our purpose possibly being something that doesn't just come naturally, but something that can honestly scare the living hell out of us. And you know what? That's a good sign. We're also going to talk about the myth of clarity before action and what it is that actually creates momentum and progress. We're also going to talk about how the things that we know and we think are our purpose might actually be the thing that keep us stuck. And then you really do not have to know it all before you start living your purpose right now. This one, as always, is very juicy, but it's really grounded and full of personal realizations and a bunch of truth bombs. If you're standing at the edge of your next chapter, even if you have no idea what the chapter is called yet, then this is our invitation to take the first step anyway. We're going to invite you to do that quite a bit throughout this episode, so let's take the first step by listening.
Today, I invited Claire to speak with me about purpose-driven life. And this is a passion of mine. What about yours?
Yeah, I would say it's a big topic for me lately. My response might end up being very long, so I don't know if we want to go there directly, but lately it's really something that I'm exploring, and I just feel like, both of us have done so much work on ourselves, and for me, it has really come to a point in my life where it's impossible for me at this point to live inauthentically and to lie to myself or to lie to other people. And once you become so in tune with yourself and you know yourself so well and you're just so grounded and centered in your being and you're in alignment, which truly means when your body, soul, and spirit align, you get in touch, you start understanding your journey. You're like, oh, I'm a unique human here with a unique lifetime and a unique experience. And I am here, I chose this particular experience to live a particular set of experiences and learn a particular set of lessons. And then once you learn these lessons, you learn all these skills, and then you have this like toolkit and you can help the world with your unique passion, right? So maybe some people in the world are super passionate about racial issues. Some people are super passionate about the climate. Some people are super passionate about, medicine. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with me not being passionate madly about any of these topics. Like, yeah, I should care because, as a good human, as a good citizen of the planet, I don't want to be indifferent, but like if it's not my wild passion, then I should just focus on what my wild passion is, because there's somebody else who has this wild passion for these important causes and they're gonna, follow their life purpose and make things happen. But I have a different passion. So it's like I have a different role, it's like you're in a beehive and all the bees have their different jobs and you split the work between different members of the society or the community. And let's just all focus on what is uniquely ours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. And, we talk about purpose driven. So it's the purpose, like the definition of it is something that is a driving force. So it brings meaning to life. It's not just that we set a goal to something, or we're intentional about our day, but it goes so much deeper, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit yesterday when we decided to do this, that we have seen this purpose glistening in through our life. Like I remember when I was 12 years old and we were driving with my parents, going to summer house. And all of a sudden I just told them that, okay, so when I graduate from high school, I'm going to move out of Finland. I'm just letting you know. And that was part of my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just huge to think those things, like the feeling that you have when you tap into that purpose intuitively, So it's some kind of a driving force. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know that you've been kind of diving deeper into this in your own research lately.
Yeah, it's the conversation we were having yesterday was essentially, it's like once you like feel it in your bones. It's like, I know I'm here for this. And so this is really a big topic for me lately, because I feel like I've always known that I'm supposed to be maybe famous or like doing big things in the world. Like since I was a child, like I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be a singer or an actress or something, And then, I was really good at school. And so people talked me out of it. I talked myself out of it. I wanted to do something important. But then I kind of saw myself being maybe a big player, like in international relations or something like that. I was really good with languages. I studied international relations. And then I realized it was still my passion, but I didn't want to be in politics or in this like stress, hierarchy, power hungry, competitive fighting, like this kind of world. So I was like, this is not for me. But I remember already during my undergraduate, I had already had work experience. Like I spent a year working as a communications director for a startup that was international. I was based in China and traveling all around the world for work. So I already had some work experience, and I was talking to my friend who was very like career driven, who was, doing her master's. And I'm telling her, it's like, I don't really know if like this like employment is my thing. At first she laughs, and then she looks me in the eye and she says, you know what? It's true, Claire. I guess maybe work is not for anyone. And if like somebody is not meant for a standard like 9 to 5 employment, then yeah, that would be you. And it was interesting because at first she was kind of looking at me, and she's so in the in that mindset of like, we went to these good universities and everybody's just like competition. Like we need to finish this prestigious education and then get this prestigious job. And you're like, kind of so blindsided. You only see one way that your life can go. So first she was like looking at me through that lens and she's like, what are you talking about, Claire? Just get a fucking job. But then she really she paused and looked me in the eye and she was like, you're right. Like you're not, yeah, maybe you're not really built for this. Like I can see you something different about you. And I was like, huh. But then, I forgot about it because I was still so much like in the mold and I continued with my education and all that. But for the past 4 years, when I was already deeper into my journey of spiritual awakening and understanding how there's so many different ways we can help ourselves and help others, and there's so much more to life than just school and work and career and this kind of linear progression, I started really feeling into like, I think I want to have my own business. I think I want to be a coach. I think I want to help people. I think I want to create content. I've been traveling around the world pretty much nonstop for the past 11 years. I know people love my content. They find my story inspiring. I speak a lot of languages. I've experienced a lot of different things. I know I have a lot of experience that I can share with people who do not have the luxury of, being able to experience all these things. And so I started really feeling into this. It's like, I know I have certain skills and certain stories and experiences that I can share with people. And I want to do that. And so I have known this for the past perhaps 4 years, but I really lack the courage or the know-how or the determination or the stamina or the resources, the stability, whatever it is, to really go and make it happen. Like I just didn't know how. And so, I continued with my education. I continued with this and that. I took on a job. And as I had this job, it was the last full-time job I had. Even though I knew it was a temporary job, I just felt like every day, even though the job was very easygoing, I was making good money, I was living in a paradise place, but I felt this like every day I was like, what am I doing here? I'm wasting my time. I know exactly what I should be doing with my life. Why am I here? It's a waste of my time. And I felt miserable because I felt this pressure of like, I'm wasting my life here. And I wanted to stop and I couldn't quit the job because of my contract. But finally, when the contract came to an end, I was like, I want to start this business. And then I couldn't. Everything in me was like, this is too scary. I don't want to be seen. I don't know how to do this. It's too difficult. It's too terrifying to put myself out in the world, just all by myself, try to figure this out when I don't know how. It felt, I just couldn't make a move.
What you were just now saying, I believe so many can relate to. Having that knowing and not knowing how to step into it and feeling kind of safe in that other role, which you also had skills for. You can do anything. And we have so many abilities and we can get sidetracked from that fulfilled purpose by doing something else that gives us safety. Or maybe they have given us connections with people. We have built relationships. And there are so many reasons why it's just okay to stay here. However, what you are pointing to is that hunger, that intuitive knowing that there's actually something more for me. And that unfulfilled life that becomes the living experience is starting to like you're saying, it's starting to drag you down. Like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I not there? Like, how do I get there? And that's the purpose driven life. It's almost like we get to build the bridge in order to experience that. A person like yourself, you have enormous amount of abilities. You speak 7 languages fluently? I mean, that's incredible. I speak 2, and I know what just one new language brings to you, a whole nother world, with it, so many beautiful gifts. So it's not just the language. It's the learning of the culture. It's the connecting with the people. And you definitely have that skill. And you're here talking from that place, that enrichment of your own life within yourself, and then knowing that, hey, I still need to get there so I can have and give impact. So let's talk about that. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of pause and let our listeners to just kind of deep dive a little bit into that before we go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you for making that bridge. What I was going to continue with was that once you have this knowing, but then you just don't know how to get there, or like you feel like maybe you're not ready, right? And then you take another job. There's so many people who spend their lives having a dream, but then they're like, oh, it's just a dream. It's too naive, or I could never make this work, or like, it's my hobby. I don't want to make it my profession, or, it doesn't make money, or something like that. And their whole lives, they just spend having a safe job. And then they're always like, I don't know, watching an athlete or a singer on TV. And it's like, oh, I've always wanted to do this. And it's like never kind of leaves them. And like your whole life, you're kind of just watching and wondering what could have been if you tried. And it's a tricky feeling. So, then we kind of like, oh, this is not for me, or this is too naive, or whatever. And we do something else. But I feel like I know how it felt, how miserable I felt when I was in that job, not because it was a miserable job, but just because I was so misplaced there.
Mm-hmm.
And so recently, I just couldn't find it in myself to start that business and start making that money. And so when you're in the experience of running out of money, and you don't know when the next paycheck is going to come from, and then friends, like really dear people to me, who really know me, start telling me, Claire, you should get a job. And I know that they're speaking from a very good place, from a voice of reason. And then I think about it and I feel like, yeah, okay, maybe I should. But everything in me is like, I know exactly what I have to do. And I know that if I get a job, it's going to be my excuse. And I'm going to be like, oh, now I'm too busy. I don't have energy and I can't focus on my life purpose.
Yeah.
And I know that. And I know that whatever fancy thing comes my way, it's a distraction, and it's like testing me. It's like, what's Claire gonna do? She knows what she has to do. She gonna do it, or is she gonna be like, oh, somebody gave me this offer that I just cannot accept. Like, it's too good to be true. And it's this always like, what am I gonna do? And I find that really hard, but I find that recently I just see my brain, my being is just like, let me distract myself. Let me distract myself. Let me distract myself. And then I keep saying, oh, I don't have the clarity, or I'm not quite sure, but I know it's just this fear. And I wonder if other people, if our listeners can relate to that. Kirsi, tell me if you relate to that. I feel like our purpose is something big. If it's easy, or maybe it's for somebody, maybe it could be easy, but I feel like, at least my experience, it's difficult. And maybe we can talk about it a little bit later, sort of the juxtaposition of our karma, or like the hardship and the lessons that we need to learn and overcome. And it's like juxtaposed with our Dharma, which is the Buddhist word for our life purpose, right? For the mission, like, the reason you were born. And they're completely like sort of, so if I don't know that much about astrology, but this concept really fascinates me. So in astrology, we have something called the South Node and the North Node, and they're exactly opposite each other in your birth chart, which is a circular sort of diagram. And so they're exactly opposite each other. And so the South Node is where you come from. So this could be things that you're really familiar with. And it's like in our past lives, we've done this a million times, so we know this so well. But then there's also the karma, or like, the trauma, like all the bad stuff that we bring. And maybe, we were born into a difficult family or a difficult country, difficult situations. We had a lot of trauma growing up. And so we have pain and difficulty and things to overcome and challenges in our lives. And this is what they say, like, is the South Node, or the karma, is like where we come from, and it's the burdens. But before a soul incarnates into the world, we choose the experience and all the hardships so that because of this particular hardship that I have experienced, and, Kirsi would have experienced a different hardship, then I have to overcome this particular hardship. So I will learn a particular set of lessons and gain knowledge and techniques and gain, maybe compassion, or become, a good listener because nobody listened to me when I was a child, or whatever it is. But I will be particularly sensitive to a particular issue because I have dealt with that issue and because it caused me so much pain. But if I learn how to overcome it and heal it and integrate that and become, confident and speaking about it, even if it's a really difficult thing, then I can help so many people. And so it's like, once you get from here, from, that karma and the trauma, you start approaching your Dharma. And it's like, oh my God, because of all this pain, I learned all these things and skills. And so now I have so many skills that I can use to help other people. And I have this unique passion because I've experienced the depth of the pain. And so I know how terrible it is. And so I can relate to other people having this pain. And I just want nothing else in the world but to help them, right? They say the more you heal your trauma, the more it pushes you towards your purpose. Or the more you focus on your purpose, the more it makes you look at your shit. And so that's why it's so difficult, right? Like, you start like working on your business or whatever. You're so passionate about singing maybe. And then you start singing and like your throat is all sick or whatever. Or you just have all this fear of being on stage because it activates all the pain and all the difficulties.
I love what you're saying there, because it's definitely that battle with the old me and the me that I see that I want to be, And a lot of people, of course, because of this difficulty, they start looking, okay, well, this is not so bad. I'm not doing so bad. Hey, I got a good job. And Kirsi, just settle down, don't try to get too much, that you're doing great, and that's settling for that old me and not going deep into that stuff that is on the way. I wrote down, it's like the old me and the new me. I'm always pulled to the old me because this is the safe spot. This is where I'm comfortable with. However, those dreams, like you mentioned before, you've had them since you were very young, maybe the glimpses of them even from the childhood. But then somebody said, oh, it's okay, we don't do life like that. Get over it, Claire. Stop dreaming, Kirsi. And then you just kind of believe that, like, okay, I'm supposed to go to college and the university, or, get a career and do all this stuff like this way. So your new me kind of gets lost out of the vision. Like you can't see it anymore. And that's what creates that I don't know how to get there. It's the training that we receive. We are put in schools and we go through a program that is, a lot of times it's kind of brainwashing us, it's brainwashing us to become a productive citizen for successful corporation, and that's then becomes the new me. But that was never the me that I saw myself somewhere inside to be, with that dream and that vision and that fulfillment, that amazing, exhilarating drive that you feel when you are living your purpose. Or, when we say we living our purpose, my experience is that you don't even have to like fully live your purpose. However, that acceleration comes when you start stepping the steps, when you have a game plan that, hey, I didn't forget about this person. I'm not just settling for the old me. I'm not just dwelling in that karma, like you're saying, in the suffering, and maybe putting some bandages and learning a few tricks how to protect myself from all of that stuff. But I'm actually putting some steps forward. I'm making a game plan to start seeing myself, start acting as that person. And what would those action steps be for like right now? Like, for example, you know that you are going to have a great impact in life. And I have no doubt about that. And I know that. So right now, you became a coach. That was a huge step. Same for me. When I take a look back, I was somewhere over there wondering about how am I going to get somewhere on this progress of becoming the new me. So once I was somewhere over there, now I'm further over here as a life coach. And having that impact, we grow all the time. I'm impacting now first my family as a new me.
Yeah.
Having those skills and tools and wisdom and experience, and you get results. You don't get stuck in the same relationship drama or patterns that you have yourself. You see that, hey, this is, and you teach your family, hey, you know what, this is how we get out of that. It's the mindset. We start renewing our mind, our emotions, not following those lower frequency karma emotions, but renewing it and teaching it. And then we start teaching it to our clients. And then the next step is, hey, you know what? I can have more impact. I can reach more clients, because I'm helping this circle here. I know I can help a bigger circle here. So let's talk about those steps. What we need to get from the old self to the new self. So how do we start establishing those steps?
I think it's a very difficult question, but I think it really depends where somebody is in their lives. And I think for different people, it can really look differently. And for someone, and it depends how old you are as well, and I think we all really have very unique journeys. There's people who start successful businesses and become millionaires in their like early 20s, right? And maybe that is their purpose, or maybe that's part of their purpose, because that can also change. Like, first I have this one experience and then my life completely shifts. And it doesn't mean that I'm not living my purpose, right? Like, maybe the first experience, which is so vastly different from the thing that I will end up doing in the future, is exactly what I need to get to what I'm going to get to in the future. But some people only start living their purpose and truly find themselves, maybe in their 40s, 50s, 60s, like you never know, right? And I'm just thinking of this lady who started this incredible business. It's kind of like a spiritual practices for women, and she's helping thousands and thousands and thousands of women with her work. But she's been speaking about how it took her 3 or 4 years to get started. I feel like when the mission is so big, and I think almost like in order to be successful with this, we're given, and maybe that's going to sound a little bit egotistic, but I've really glimpsed this, especially in my medicine journeys. I've worked with plant medicine where you're really like connected so deeply to yourself, to your soul, to the divine, whatever you want to call it. It's just a very profound state where you're so connected to yourself and you just see things clearly and you get answers. And I saw this so clearly that like, I don't quite know what my future looks like, but I get this sense of like, I have a big mission. And in my most recent experience, I was kind of feeling the depth of gratitude of just how humbled I was by this realization and the blessings or the bigness of the mission, even if I don't quite know what it is, but I kind of felt like the importance of it, and maybe that's not unique to me. Like, we all have a mission, and all of our missions are big, right? And there was just this, I was genuinely like, I was lying on the floor, kneeling and crying with my front on the ground, and everything I could think of was like, I'm just a humble little human. Like, why me? Or why would I have a big mission? And I almost think that it is almost like necessary, because if you want to achieve something big, but not from an ego place of just like, everybody look at me, I'm so amazing, I'm making so much money, and I'm successful and famous, and now and I'm just enjoying the spotlight, like from an ego place. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying that. Like, you should enjoy that. Why would you do that otherwise if you didn't enjoy it? But if it's driven from your heart or your soul or from service, you truly feel like this is who I am meant to be in the world. And it's not just for my own fulfillment, but also for the greater good of the whole planet, because people are going to benefit from, seeing me do the things that I do, and they're going to be inspired. If it is meant to come from this healthy, surrendered, centered, non-ego place, then I feel like it's almost necessary to have this doubt and this humbleness and this like self-doubt, like, who am I to do this? And so it's kind of in a way like it sucks because it's going to take us so much time to overcome this, but I think it gives you the necessary humility to do this, and you almost feel like I'm in service to God, to the universe, to the world, whatever you believe in. But you feel this sense of mission. It's not just for me, and it gives you a feeling of purpose, right? So I feel like, in a sense, it's extremely important to have these self-image issues or feeling like I'm not good enough for this. Who the heck am I to do this? Why me? Somebody else can do it better. I feel like it's an important part of the process. And yes, like, we need to learn how to overcome it and find that self-confidence. But I've heard somebody say recently, who heard it from their shaman, saying, listen, the moment you lose the doubt, that's where it ends. Like, you always need to have some level of doubt so that you just never know what could happen in any moment. But you have to have that trust to keep going, but also kind of be surrendered. It's like, just be okay with the fact that we're never going to fully know what's going to happen, right? But you kind of listen to that voice, and it's like, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm listening to this voice, and I'm just going to keep on walking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that, you brought out the service, because it's really, I believe that purpose-driven life is a service life. It's a life of service to humanity. Because first of all, I have come to find out that it's a deep service first to me. It is the dying of that ego. And ego has the doubts and the fears. Ego has the pursuit for fame or pursuit for certainty, even pursuit for safety, but it becomes a false safety. But when we come to that surrendered place, and you brought so beautifully out the gratitude, we start taking account of what is there in life. Because when we talk about purpose-driven life, living a fulfilled life, it really does start with first taking assessment of what we have and having a deep gratitude for that, for people who we have been in contact with, who have played a major role in our lives. I want to talk about honesty a little bit. I was speaking with another coach this morning, and we both agreed that we don't have to go too far from our house where we find a person who feels like they're not living their purpose, who has settled in their lives to live that life that is kind of common. That works. It works. I mean, it pays the bills, but it doesn't give that inspiration. If you do not wake up in the morning and you feel excited about life, you're inspired by just taking a breath and having that expansion and joy, even the glimpses of that in your life, then I would venture to say that you have not tapped into the steps of your purpose. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I call for honesty, because the state of humanity is alarming right now. There are too many of us who have given up that dream, who have believed the lie of it's going to be okay, just get a job and this is the way we do it. No, this is not the way we're supposed to do it. We are supposed to dig deep into ourselves and find out who we authentically are and what our passions are. What are those gifts that lay within us? And we may be using those gifts, but if we're using them for a corporate and we hate going over there to that shop every day and we feel like we're trapped, then we have compromised, and there is more for us to find in this life. And we when we talk about purposeful driven life, we're not definitely talking about get rich, like, oh, you're just gonna go and get rich now. That's the purpose. No, the getting rich and getting the money and all of that, yes, we need it. This is what life runs by, just like a car runs by gas. You can't get anywhere with it without the gas, right? However, that's a byproduct of that fulfillment. That's a byproduct of the fulfilled life. And we get to learn the communication skills, we get to learn connection, being in the present moment, and just allowing people to see who we are when we start living that fulfilled life. And that's the igniter. Like, I love to hang out with people who are living their purpose, who are authentically, their discipline in their daily life to have at least 3 steps every single day towards their purpose. Well, they have a different pep in their step, they got that drive. They walk by and you're like, wait a minute, I want to follow her. I want to follow him. That person is going to places. And you can be very, very successful and not going anywhere, just piling and piling your bank account, but being in misery. That's a whole nother misery where you become very successful. However, you forgot the why. Yeah. Or maybe you just got an opportunity and you went for the success of it, but that's not your why. That's not your why you wake up. So then you become this successful person and you wonder, what's going on? I feel so empty. I've never felt this empty before in my life. Yeah. And so it's a huge part of this all is a mindset. And really renewing our mind, because without renewing our mind, we cannot become a new person. We cannot become that person because, I gave this example the other day. I can want to be a runner. Maybe that's my purpose, to be a runner. But right now, I'm just like so comfortable on my couch. I'm watching Netflix and I just, look at the runners, I may look at the competitions of runners and I just like, wow, I'm eating chips and just enjoying myself and looking how other people have established their dream as a runner. But I cannot become that runner unless I start running. Mm-hmm. I can sit here and think about it and research it and do, all kinds of, even buy the running shoes and buy all the equipment for it. But if I don't get up off this couch and do a daily action plan, my muscles will not get strong. I might have a gift in running, but I will not cultivate that gift if I don't make the action plan. And so the first step into stepping into that purpose, I believe it's first of all realizing, okay, am I in my purpose or am I not? Am I just lying to myself? Am I just living? Because time goes on and we get older. Every single day is an opportunity for us to cultivate our purpose. Yeah. And usually, wouldn't you say, Claire, that your purpose is connected to something that you deeply love, like a passion of yours?
That's a good question. I would say I'm not sure, actually. Either that or this concept from astrology that I mentioned, it really has me thinking a lot because they say like sometimes we think it's our purpose because we're so good at something so naturally. Like let's say for example, for me, just traveling and languages come to me so naturally. And so, it would be so easy for me, I guess, to just kind of dedicate my life to do something with languages. But it almost feels empty for me because it's just, at this point, it's just easy. Like, yes, in the past I had to learn it. But right now it's just kind of like what, it's just boring because I've just done it so much. Like, there's nothing new for me to explore.
You already know it.
I already know it.
Right.
And like,
your passion. Is it your passion? Is it
used to be, but now I'm kind of jaded. Like it used I used to be so madly passionate about it, and I'm still passionate about it. But now I'm so much more passionate about other things that are
there you go.
new, and I just want to learn the things that I don't know. And so what they say in astrology is that the South Node is like where we come from. And so it's the things we know because we have done them and learned them and perfected them for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. So it's so easy for you. Right. Let's say maybe you, Kirsi, like you have I know Kirsi is so intuitive. She has such a deep connection. Like she just knows things. And maybe she used to be some sort of I don't know, maybe she used to meditate or used to be a priestess or whatever it is, like maybe this is something you've done for a lifetime. So it's like, it's easy for you and it's hard for you to explain to people. Like, why am I this way? I don't know. Just to me, it's obvious. Like, I don't find people. I didn't have to learn it, And so they say that the self node is like something we know so well because we've done it and done it and done it. And then we tend to think this is what we're supposed to do. But then they say, actually, it's not because we're here on earth to evolve because that's what we love to do. We love to see the progress so that, it's like when you're not learning anything in life, you're stagnating. Like you just feel like, what's the point of living sort of, right? Like, and so we love to learn and evolve. And so sometimes we get so comfortable in the things that we already know, but actually that's not our purpose, or maybe it's part of it. But a big part of the purpose is to learn the things that we don't know or like overcome the things that are super difficult for us. So let's say if I'm super terrified of being on stage, but maybe my purpose is to be like a politician and speak in public every day. You know what I mean? And so it's really hard, but like it's so satisfying when you go through that journey of life and you learn how to overcome it. And, you're constantly like taking a tiny step every single day. And so like at the beginning, you cannot say that public speaking is your joy, your passion. So I don't know. I don't want to say that it's this way or that way, but I just find that really intriguing because I find that to be true for me. The things that I've been so challenged with in life. And I thought that would be the last thing I would ever want to talk about. And now I'm like seeing that's exactly why that's my purpose because it's so uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
So it's so hard. And it's like, this is the last thing I would ever want to go in front of people to talk about. But just because I see how much I was hurt or how much I was challenged or how much this thing was impacting my life. And I understand just how much it impacts other people's lives. And so I'm like, somebody's going to stand up and talk about this thing.
Yeah. So there's like, okay, let's like level these. There's different layers of passion.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So for example, my passion is to bring the tools and the help, the support that I have received and I know to masses. Now that's my passion. But my passion alone doesn't take me there. So I have to, or I get to learn skills that I don't have in order to get to my passion. So I need to learn to communicate. I'm not a great communicator. Like, I need to learn to convey that what I have, So that's what I'm learning. That's the runner steps for me, to
That's
those muscles going. But I can't say it's my passion. I can't say it's my passion to, make a live on Facebook, or it's not my passion, but it'll get me to my passion, you know? So I renew my mind. I start, seeing myself as, Kirsi, you are a great speaker. Kirsi, you're going to crush this. Kirsi, people are going to hear what you convey.
Right.
You're going to be able to articulate it. So I renew my mind and I become that person, but I have to make the steps. Like, before we came to live, I was like, I wish I could just say no.
Yeah.
Wish I could, there's that resistance.
Yeah.
But that resistance is actually so needed. And this is really important for us to realize that if we stop at the resistance, we will never become that, that new me. We'll never become that.
Yeah.
Because the resistance is what gets those muscles strengthened, The resistance is what the runner is fighting against. The resistance is the old me. And once I cultivate that vision that I have, the purpose that I have, I continue to break through the resistance. But it doesn't happen if I just do it here and there, I've noticed. I got to do it every day. How does the brick wall breaks? It breaks when you keep pounding on it. Like every day I keep pounding on it. And I've noticed that there are really some important things that keep me pounding, because I could get tired of pounding. So if I don't take care of myself, if I don't have daily routines that resource me, if I don't set boundaries, if I allow people to if I give my energy out, not setting my boundaries, not being focused on what I'm doing, if I'm not spending time with my family, bringing balance of work and family into my life. There are so many of these things. It doesn't need to be difficult, but it needs to be consistent. Does that make sense? Like, if we just pick, like, I'm a big promoter of just pick 3 steps that you can do daily. 3 little steps that keep you bounding on that resistance, no matter how it feels. Then you're working on every single day, breaking down that resistance, and you are stepping every day into that new person, who you are, and stepping in that purpose.
Yeah.
And don't you feel like the more you do it, the more you get energized, the more you see it? Like, first you just see this little, and it feels like this one step is so heavy, and that old me is kind of heavy, it feels heavy on you.
Yeah.
The old me is pulling down.
Yeah.
So first it's like you see so little, your emotions are so little about it. But when you just start stepping that one step, and it's like another decision that you make.
Yeah. There's 2 things I want to speak to that you've spoken about. The first is that resistance. It's funny because, of course, there's a lot of fear. That's the resistance, right? That's fear that's stopping us from doing the big things. And of course, there's a huge fear of failure, of I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough for this thing. What if this fails? It's going to be too terrifying. But actually, I would almost challenge us all to consider that maybe we're even more afraid of what if it actually works out? What if I'm actually brilliant? What if I'm actually really powerful and I impact a lot of people's lives? And I would venture to say that this is much more terrifying, that the smallness, because we keep ourselves in the smallness on purpose. But like, I've experienced this time and time again when I start seeing my own power, when like you just show up in the world as who you are, and then people around you start having reactions, or like somebody's life start changing, and you're like, was it my fault? Like, did I do this? Like, by some sort of a weird domino effect, I just did a thing, and then somehow bloop, 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 bloop. And then this person over here is having this experience, and then their experience is impacting this group of people. And you're like, was it me? You know? And it's a terrifying thing. And then we have all sorts of meaning about it. And you're like, I'd better not move, because what if I touch something and then there's a domino effect? But like, we just need to trust that we're bringing change in the world, and it's a good thing. And we just need to become comfortable with that power of ours. And you know, people are going to have all sorts of reactions, but that's ultimately why we're here, because we're here to learn from each other, right? And we don't live in a vacuum. So I would encourage people to sort of explore and observe their, like, what the resistance is all about. And like, is it a fear of not being good enough, or is there a big fear of my actual power? Like, am I, you know, terrified of seeing how powerful I actually am? And the second thing I wanted to speak to was, you know, the little steps, how you said we take the little steps every day, and that's the change. I want to like explain from my perspective, to give some language to it, because it's like you want to become a runner, but like you're just sitting on your couch every day. You're not a runner. Or it's hard, or you tell yourself you're a runner, or you tell others you're a runner, but every time you say that, you feel like a fraud. You feel like you're living a lie, because you're like, who the fuck am I? Like, I'm not a runner. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm not running. And so, but if you go and run every day, even if it's for 5 minutes, and you have your running shoes and you have a schedule, you know, of running, you start acting like a runner. And because you run, you're a runner. And so it's impossible for you to not believe that you're a runner, because every day you go and run, and it doesn't matter how much you run, but you see yourself differently. And so once you start believing that, you know that you are that, you know, it's like if I'm a coach, and maybe I only have one client because I'm just starting out, but I am coaching. So I am a coach, and I feel comfortable saying that, you know, or maybe I'm starting out, I'm just coaching somebody for free, but I am coaching.
Oh, girl.
And so when I say I'm a coach, it resonates. I don't feel like I'm lying. I don't feel like I'm a fraud. And it gives me that necessary confirmation and that power and that strength to keep going every day. And it's like, I am a coach. Remember, Claire, you coach people, like, you know, or remember, Kirsi, like you're a marketeer, because you talk about marketing and you do marketing, and like maybe you just started and you see no results, but you do it every day. And so you are that. And so your identity starts changing. And the more you see yourself in the identity of who you want to become, the more you're just like, yeah, that's who I am. Just keep going. That's who I am. Just keep going. And just more of that and more of that and more of that. And you settle into that with like a comfort and a safety, and you start feeling safe in that role. So you allow yourself to expand in it and take more space, like be a bigger coach, be a bigger marketeer, like talk about it more, be more confident talking about it. Because that's what you do. That's who you are.
Absolutely. I love that. That's it right there. We could listen to that over and over again, because that was the gem of this podcast. I love it. Exactly. Once we start doing the steps, that's how we become that new person. If we just think about the steps and we plan on them, let's just be honest. We're hiding behind all that research, you know, because some of us, like I used to be like that. I wanted to make sure that when I start doing the steps, they're perfect. So I researched and I dove deep into different things and subjects and myself, and let me see if I can find something else in here that I can get better at within myself. We'll find them once we start doing the steps. And that's it.
Thank you for listening and for being here with me and Kirsi as we unraveled this rich, real, and often misunderstood path to purpose. If this episode sparked something in you, If a part of you finally felt less crazy for not having it all figured out, make sure to follow the podcast for more soul-shifting, perspective-expanding truth bombs like this. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, I have something for everyone. If you're a woman craving clarity, alignment, and the kind of confidence that comes from feeling like you've finally come home to yourself, my signature group program, Aligned, Embodied, Alive, is where the magic happens. This is for the woman who's done it all, but still doesn't feel whole. The woman who's ready to stop circling around her truth and finally land in her radiance. We do emotional healing, embodiment, nervous system work, and come into a deep remembrance of who you really are. This is not mindset coaching. This is full body transformation. It's intimate, it's embodied, it's sacred, and it's designed to shift your entire life. DM me to find out more or get on the waitlist to be notified when the next round opens at clairepoho.com/waitlist. And if you're a man on your own path of awakening and you're looking for a safe, supportive container to just be, to release the pressure, the masks, the shoulds, accepted and loved, even when you admit you really don't have it all figured out, and actually, maybe you just need a loud, messy cry, I'm here for that. I'll hold you through that in my private one-on-one coaching containers. You'll be held safely, with zero judgment. We'll explore your inner world, clear the noise, and reconnect with your truth. It's deep work. If you're feeling the pull, reach out. And before I go, one last thing. What if I told you that your entire life is already a manifestation, whether you believe in it or not? That there's serendipities, the last-minute plot twists, the moments of how the hell did this all work out were never random. That there's a pattern, and that you're more powerful than you've been taught to believe. For the first time ever, I'm sharing some of the most mind-blowing stories of how I've created this life. I'm sharing how I manifested free travel and accommodation all around the world, how I studied at elite universities when I had no money, how I landed a job living with royal billionaires, and then lost it just as fast, how I went from chronically single to meeting the man I'd once written a dream list about, and so much more. It's called Manifestation Magic, a private, totally free audio series where I walk you through not just the magic, but the mechanics of it all. I'll show you what worked, what totally flopped, and how to shift your energy, frequency, and mindset so that life starts working for you, not against you. Not with some cliche, write it 50 times and burn a candle formula, but by learning to trust yourself more than the plan. If you're ready to remember what's actually possible for you, if you're ready to get out of your own way and start living like the woman or the man you came here to be, go to clairepoho.com/mm to get on the waitlist. Because this series, it's gonna rewire you. So, clairepoho.com/mm for Manifestation Magic. You'll want to binge it the second it drops. That's it for now, and I will see you in the next one. Much love to you.